So my very first visit to the St. Louis Symphony was actually a few months ago,
Hmm.
and I absolutely loved it. It was like, I don't know, it's like one of those things like you never really know what to expect. I'm not a big classical music fan. I went on.
Sure.
It was Paul Williams night when you were playing all the great movie themes.
Yep.
And I like I say, I think, well, well, I don't know. I don't. Is it going to be a bunch of rich people? Am I going to have to dress up really nice? I have no idea what to expect. I just said, you know what? I'm going to go. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go. And it was like one of the neatest things I have ever experienced. And
That is so
um,
cool.
and I'm absolutely thrilled to chat with you. This is David Robertson, music director of the St. Louis Symphony Orchestra. And just yeah, again, real quick. I mean, what an amazing thing for somebody who has never gone to the symphony. I just think so many, and I tell this to people all the time now. You have to go. You just have to go and experience it, and don't be afraid of sort of, I don't know, stereotypes or things that may sort of scare you away from just giving it one shot.
Right. No, I think that the thing that's so impressive is just the actual incredible beauty of the sound. And it's so hard to sum it up in just a couple of words because it really does seem to touch all the corners of our emotional life. It touches incredible joy. It touches these moments where you feel heroic and you want to go out and change the world for the better, and these moments of solitude. And what's so incredible is to be able to have all of these experiences and sharing them with other people who are there. And that's, this is a sort of a coming together which I find makes the concert such a fabulous thing nowadays when it feels like we're connected, but we're always connected with some sort of screen, with some sort of thing that's in between us and our supposed connection. Whereas when these musicians are playing for you, you know that they're actually, even though there are lots of people there, they're really just playing for you. And that's a sense that is just tremendous. And this orchestra is, if I can kind of say something that's remarkable about the St. Louis Symphony Orchestra, they're actually really loving in a sense that when you come in, you don't feel that they're just, going through the motions for you, that you've paid a ticket and therefore they're going to play this music for you as best they can. No, they seem to go directly right into your heart. There's an interesting thing, and this happens in rehearsals. We had the great soprano Christine Brewer, who's goes all around the world, and luckily she lives not far away in Illinois, and so we think of her as a local girl. But she sings in Tokyo and London and Berlin and just in Australia, all over the place. So we were doing a piece. And it was a piece that's based on American poetry, Knoxville Summer of 1915. And the narrator is talking about how all of these people were there in his childhood, and it was so wonderful. And they get to this moment where he says, "There's my aunt, my uncle, my father," and then on my mother, the composer Samuel Barber puts this wonderfully high arching phrase. And I looked at the violins as if to say, "Give me a little bit of your emotional stuff here."
Yeah.
And they know exactly what it is, and we never talk about it.
Yeah.
And they just did this thing, and Christine started to sing the music. And she's, been singing for years. She's a consummate professional. She and I totally choked up, tears in our eyes, and she said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I just couldn't sing anymore." And I said, "That's okay. I understand entirely." And the players kind of look up and go, Did we do too much? Was it? And you go, "No, you're doing what music is about."
Sure.
And this is one of the things that's so great when you do these things like the John Williams program, because he's so good at making this music really just have the emotional impact for the film. Can you imagine those Spielberg films without his soundtrack?
No.
And so then you have an orchestra like this that just inhabits like some great actor each single score in a way that's really remarkable and makes the experience when you're watching this in real time, unadulterated, nothing filtered, through no other medium than just human beings connecting to each other through listening. This is an amazing, amazing thing.
Now here you've gone out of your way to talk up all of these other people, but I'm going to tell you that my first time there at the symphony, what really blew me away. I mean, of course, the music is fantastic, and that's why we're all there. But I just really enjoyed your sort of down to earth and regular guy approach to leading the symphony and sort of hosting the evening. I enjoyed the jokes. It was just the right amount of stuff. You know, a lot of times you'll go to a concert and it's, knuckleheads up there just talking the whole time. You're like, sing.
Right.
You had the absolute perfect mix of chatting a little bit with the audience, introducing the pieces. And so I let me ask you this, since that's appealing to guys like me that might otherwise, be afraid to show up at Powell Hall to listen to classical music. I'm curious, are there a lot of conductors who kind of operate the same way, or are most of them maybe a little more buttoned up, a little more serious?
Well, let me just say first that I'm so glad this interview is on radio, because otherwise you'd see me, lighting up like a tomato in blushing.
Oh, gosh.
I don't really know. I love sharing music with people, and so one of the things that I enjoy doing is speaking about it in contexts where it seems appropriate, either before a concert or sometimes during a concert, and trying to sort of set as a goal something that if somebody has come in off the street and they came into the hall by mistake, that they're going to find the sort of comments interesting. And somebody who's been studying this their whole life and has a doctoral degree from Washington University is also going to be in the hall, and they will find it interesting. And that's I think the real sort of fun challenge for me is how can you make this enjoyable for everybody? And of course, the main thing is that just like you say. Humor is a great thing, and we all share this ability to laugh, and we all share this ability to be enchanted. And so, if you can combine those two, I think you've got a winning ticket. I don't know if there are many other people who do it. There are some people who are really great at doing these sorts of things, and I think the most important thing that any of us can do, and any parent knows this, is that if you communicate your enthusiasm, that's teaching by example, and other people will get pumped up about it as well.
So let's just talk Symphony 101 here for a second, because I have a feeling that there are a lot of people who are like me that really don't know everything they should probably know about going to the symphony. So let's just ask you this. We see you on stage, and everybody, if you've never been to Powell Hall and you've never been to the symphony, you've certainly seen it in a movie or a TV show or whatever. We see you passionately up there waving your arm in the air. What exactly are you doing as you conduct the symphony?
Well, it's very interesting. Sometimes in sporting events, you will see the guys giving these signs back and forth. And, of course, they're trying, in this case, it's usually competitive sports, and so they're trying to give the signs very subtle, and so with these high-powered cameras now, we can actually see what the catcher's showing the pitcher, and we can sometimes see these very tiny little, tugs of the hat from a manager in the dugout. But one of the things that I do is, in fact, almost like a theater director. Instead of being just letting the show go once the actors are on stage, and then just sitting and watching with everybody else, I'm kind of like a theater director who can continue to either make suggestions or call attention to something right in real time. And so one of the things, for example, that's fabulous, let's say our solo principal trumpet, Karen Bliznik, has a fabulous note one night. And it's a high note, and it's just like, but it's feeling effortless, and she could go on all night, Then if I'm up there with my gestures, people can see kind of a schematic representation of the time the music takes while it's going on. And so all of a sudden I can say, slow down a couple of my gestures, which are called beats. And that means that all of a sudden the whole group, having never rehearsed it before, having never ever talked about it, on the spot, can suddenly just expand time and let Karen sing that note out in such a way that everybody in the audience is going, oh my God, this is fabulous. Right. And this is really what I'm there to do. I'm to confirm visually what the players are hearing and what they think. So, for example, they'll have a rhythmic passage that is with complex syncopations where the beat is, jumping around. And they look up and they see, okay, so the trombone section is playing just before me, and I come in on the second beat. And they can do that because visually they see the clarity of what my hand is doing. And this then allows them to really use their ears to make the music, but to get added visual confirmation from the conductor.
That's just crazy that they all can pinpoint what you're pointing out, and everyone's so sort of in sync. It's just an amazing thing to see.
One of the things that's really cool is that you hear cognitive psychologists talking about the fact that 60 to 70% of human communication is nonverbal. And man, this is the area I live in. If I accidentally scratch my nose at the wrong place, the first violin section will decide, oh, he wants it softer.
Well,
so I got to be very controlled.
So it's absolutely hysterical that you just said that phrase, because this morning I posted on Facebook that I would be chatting with you, and I said, hey, are there anything people would like me to ask David Robertson of the St. Louis Symphony? The first question I get, honest to God, here's one. I'll read a few of these for you. One of them was, do your arms ever get tired, and what do you do if you're conducting and your nose starts to itch? Somebody wants to know.
Well, what's interesting is that like many things, when you're really focused on something, the way the mind works is that so many other kind of body parts are just put in sleep mode. They just go into hibernation. Yeah. And I've seen this sometimes when you have to go up and you're sick, and you've got a cough. Mm-hmm. But you're so focused on the music that absolutely nothing in the larynx or in the trachea or any of the sort of parts of the throat that might get irritated, it's like, and then you come off stage and you get this huge coughing fit.
Right.
And so there really isn't that type of thing very often, although sometimes you'll have a little inadvertent movement. But what's interesting is that when you start out conducting, just like anything else, you go, man, my arms are beat. And musicians who try conducting go, wow, but in fact you build up the muscles over time, so that doing this I don't feel any strain or any fatigue in the muscles at all. But I think that if you want to conduct an hour-long symphony, you gotta build up to it slowly. Try that first 5 minutes.
Exactly.
5 minute marks first.
So this one was interesting, and again, I take no responsibility for these questions, but why aren't there more left-handed conductors? Have you heard this?
I have, and in fact, it's kind of interesting because there are a few, and one of the things is that I think there are a lot of people out there who are actually left-handed, and I've occasionally had students in master classes, and I'll look at the way they're moving things, and I can see that they really want to do things with the left hand. But I often have to encourage them because they say, oh, well, I had this professor, and he said, you can't do it that way. And then I cite people like the famous Finnish conductor Paavo Berglund. And, he was left-handed, and I remember the first time I watched him, for about the first 5 seconds, I went, whoa, what's... And then you just accept it. So I think that it is one of those things that there are fewer left-handed people, apparently, in the world, and this probably means that the number of them who become conductors, the subset of those left-handed people, is also somewhat smaller. But there's no reason that you can't, and if you are a budding conductor and you feel more comfortable actually beating the beat with the left hand, nobody's going to worry.
All right, and then I'll give you one more here. What is the hardest instrument or group of instruments to conduct, in your opinion?
Oh, the hardest group of instruments to conduct is when you have instrumentalists who can't play their instrument.
Oh, well.
Because then it's like herding cats. Then And so the next time you see that elementary school, junior high, or high school music teacher, right, go up to them and say, "Well done, you're doing a great job." But of course, they're often working with people who are really still trying to get their instrument done. I mean, the thing is that it's like you're essentially. Some people say, "Well, it must be like a pilot," and you want to say no, because a plane doesn't have the incredible human intelligence, the combined human intelligence of 95 people. And so, in a sense, it's such an intelligent thing that you need to sometimes be very subtle. And so I think part of the hardest thing when you're conducting is, like I think when you're flying, or model airplanes, it would be the same, RC airplanes. You need to learn not to over control. And everyone who starts driving learns that actually I can make this turn really gently. I don't have to do very much. And this is the same thing, and with a absolutely great world-class orchestra like we are lucky enough to have here in St. Louis. The things that you can do with them, with the subtlest of intimations from your physical presence, are just astoundingly beautiful.
And let me wind down with this one. I kind of keep coming back to this point, but you in the symphony, no doubt, you have loyal followers, people that grew up appreciating classical music that are there in the seats every week or whenever you all are performing. But really, how difficult is it to reach out to people that don't think they'd enjoy a symphony performance and therefore never go to see what it's all about?
It's tough because everybody's life is very busy, and they may be right next to the most beautiful thing that could happen in their lives, and they don't really know about it. So this is why I feel kind of like, some sort of evangelist or proselytizer to try and bring people in, because it's the sort of thing I can't imagine my life without it. I would be so incredibly impoverished, and I cannot believe that there aren't a lot more people out there in the greater St. Louis community who are unaware that this is what they're looking for, but when they find it, they will say, man, my life has just been made exponentially richer.
Well, for people who don't know or don't realize, including myself until recently, David Robertson is one of, if not the best at what he does. And I know people all over the world want you to come and work for him, but you've chosen to be here in St. Louis. And I thank you, and I know folks that have seen your work firsthand would also thank you for being part of our community. It's fantastic to chat with you. And again, your rock star status in my book, I think you're fantastic. And I thank you for introducing me to the symphony and the St. Louis Symphony here in St. Louis.
Bill, thanks so much, and thanks for becoming, our number one booster.